Mexico is that it's like living anywhere, where it really is just, it's that expression, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If your eyes are attuned to beauty, that's what you'll see. Living in Mexico is exactly the same, which is to say, I saw two of the fattest roaches I have ever seen in my life in my kitchen. The fattest roaches. As someone who is deeply connected to the light, I'm very intentional about what I choose to focus on because I know my attention magnifies whatever experience I'm having and attracts more to it. And so in making a video and a vlog about my time here in Mexico, I'm like, okay, are you gonna say like the unvarnished, honest truth about living here, even if that includes things that you don't want to experience and could thus attract more of into your life? Or are you gonna just focus on all the fun, amazing, beautiful parts of being here? And so what I've decided is just be more honest, you know, share the good and the bad, because that's simply where I am right now. And I think the most loving thing we can do is be honest about where we are right now. So let me show y'all some crazy ass mosquito bites I got. I think you can see it from here. This is actually like them calming down. So we know that mosquitoes love water and they thrive. They thrive here in Mexico. There are all these things that my lifestyle in Maryland and the East Coast of the United States, it's not supported living here in Mexico. Things such as having clear skin. Now I know my skin still looks amazing, and maybe I'll give you like a forehead close-up. I think the mix of the heat as well as me not having access to my normal CeraVe is causing a reaction in my face, and my forehead is doing all types of things. And so what I've done in the short term, I got like some Youth for the People moisturizer or cleanser, and I'm just washing my face like 3 times a day, you know? So I went from washing my face never to washing my face once a day with the CeraVe and having amazing results, to now washing my face 3 times a day in the hopes that the constant cleansing will combat the constant heat and sweat, and I don't like wiping my hand on my forehead to wipe the sweat off that I'm doing all the time here in Mexico. Also, speaking of bugs, the ants in my apartment are insane, and I know that's not just a Mexico thing. I think that's truly an apartment thing. I love my apartment. I think it's awesome and super cute, and the way the owner relates to cleanliness is different than how I would relate to it, and it's really mirroring some things for me, because I lived with my sister for years and she cleaned the bathroom, I cleaned the kitchen. So I haven't cleaned a bathroom in years, and I'm like, okay, so I now need to do that, or I could hire someone. That's why it's so beautiful to have friends, because they expand your understanding of the kind of life you can live. I have a friend here who is very comfortable with receiving. I'm doing a lot of healing around that. I had a whole process around that. I might tell y'all about it later. She like has put me onto so many different resources here in Mexico, including a service that will literally pick up your laundry, launder it, and then bring it right back to you. And it's literally for like $8 or something. So we'll see if I can get to the point similarly where I'm paying someone to clean my home. That still feels a little uncomfortable, but the ants here in the apartment, I was thinking, okay, in the kitchen, that's fine. I'll buy some bug spray. In my bed, I was journaling, and literally I see an ant crawling on my hand. And that's when I got upset. You know, that's when I really got upset. I sent my landlady, the lady who owns the building, like, hey girl, can we do something about this cleaning? And she was very much like, baby girl, you in Mexico. So not the most most helpful. And I think I'm also, you know, for so long I wanted to have a landlady, and then I'm being reminded of what it's like when the person does not care so much about your experience as long as you just keep paying that money on time. The other experience I had, of course, was living through a whole ass hurricane. Something my landlady didn't tell me before I signed the lease was that the roof, this is one of the things about having a private roof, y'all, when the rain is really bad, it leaks. So I spent my night not only living in mortal terror of dying in a hurricane, but also like putting down towels and pots to collect the water that was pouring in from the ceiling. And then the next morning, after like staying up until 5 a.m., intermittently reading my Kindle, sobbing and praising the Lord, I'm then like wringing out towels like in my dirty shower and emptying out pots of water and just really having to face my life and my choices, and specifically what I am willing to accept and what I am willing to receive in terms of blessings in my life. Because it really is a blessing living here. And I've lived in Mexico and never seen a roach as fat as the roaches I've seen here, and have never been wringing out towels of dirty roof water after a hurricane, and have never had ants crawling in my bed. So it's not about Mexico. It's really not a Mexico thing. To me, it's like a personal life experience thing. And of course, I'm using every single experience to help me go deeper in my inner journey and heal something and uncover something and turn it into more energy and more light. Speaking of, I've been trying to figure out what I would do with YouTube. I mean, it's a whole separate thing, my relationship to YouTube, and it's been like 8 years now and making videos, but I had a major process this morning, and I think that process of like moving all that energy is what's allowing me to now come on here and talk and make this video, which I'm actually really excited to make, which is awesome. The process started with me connecting to my credit card debt. The last time I was here in Mexico, I was so overwhelmed by my credit card debt. I was still gonna spend money and put it on credit, but I was concerned, like it was a weight on me. This time around, because I have more sources of income, I still have the credit card debt, but it doesn't feel so upsetting. And now I have more space to actually be with, okay, what is this credit card debt actually symbolizing and pointing to in my inner experience? Because I believe that, you know, everything that we see in our 3D is something that we have created, and we've created it by giving it energy. Basically like pumping so much energy into this idea that it becomes physical, it becomes real and structured in our life, right? Of course, I'll be paying off the debt in the physical, but to me, that's a function, like that's the effect. And the cause is a shift that happens energetically. So I was like, oh, let me do a process and connect to why I have created this energy form in my life. And it led to this memory that I had where my dad would joke about, you know, how expensive it is to raise kids. And he'd joke and say that we owed him money for like, you know, all the cost that he incurred in raising us. So I do this process and I connect this part of me there's like two parts, because this part of me that's like holding this huge bag of like change and money and is dragging this debt that's being owed and is very like angry and determined. And it's like, fine, I'll pay you back, like that kind of energy. And there's this other part of me that's blank, muted, kind of like withdrawn. And she's the one who kind of reminds me of this running joke that my dad would have. She's hurt by it. This idea of like, I owe you money for you choosing to have me. Like I'm in debt to you because you chose to have me. So she's asking me like, why was he saying that? And I'm like, you know, I think it was a joke. And she's like, so and what was the joke? And I'm like, I think the joke is that you're a burden. And so as you can imagine, this was very emotional and sad, and I'm doing all this crying because the intent, of course, was never to communicate that. But you know, as kids, these subtle things really can affect us. As I tell this to this chimbi who's like, wait, but that's not true, is it? And so that's where the crying came from, was just this idea of like this part of me ever asking and seriously contemplating like, wait, am I burdening my father and my presence? And so that led to me just pouring so much love on young Chimdi, and then bringing in all the examples in my life of people affirming like, you are a blessing, not a burden. Like, we are so grateful for your light and for your presence and for getting to work with you and for getting to watch your videos and for getting to be coached by you and getting to support you. Like, we love you, you know, we really, really love you. There we are, me and my little chimneys, and we're looking at this like pile of money that we owe to Chase Bank. And I'm asking God, like, okay, how do I shift this energy, you know? And what comes through is connecting to what it would mean for you to not have this feeling of owing someone, of being in debt to someone, of not being a burden, you know? And so I go and I imagine myself like as a young child, like spending time with my dad, and my dad like intentionally being like, hey, like me and you, like we didn't really do that. Me and you, let's go out somewhere and let me take you for ice cream and let me ask you how you are and let me affirm how grateful I am to have you as my daughter, and just all these really loving words. And it was super painful. It was so painful to be with the part of me that had covered up that deep desire in my heart to have that kind of close, loving relationship. And as I was just sobbing, it really landed like, oh, this is why no one does this is why no one does this. This is why people don't do this. This is hard and painful. Like, it would be so much easier to just numb this completely, get high as hell, and be on the beach. It was so painful. And as I thought about how many daughters and sons go without having like a loving, present, grounded father in their life, I was like, oh, what I'm processing is not just for me. Like, this is something that so many people go through, and this is why I'm gonna share it and actually talk about it, because I know I'm not the only one who's experienced this. So this is why I'm making this video, because part of me was like, I could turn this into a voice note and maybe share it on my Patreon. I could just keep it as something I'm writing in my journal. I could just tell my closest friends like, hey, I just had this process. But just the depth and the magnitude of the pain and the commonality of this pain and this commonality of like people feeling like burdens and people feeling like they can't ask for help and feeling like they are in debt and they owe things to other people and they have to put up with circumstances and relationships and situations and behaviors that dishonor them and say that they are not worthy of more. I was like, it's so prevalent that this is important that I do this. And I don't often feel that way about YouTube videos. Normally I'm just like, we gonna have a little fun. And this time I was like, my face needs to be attached to these words. I need to spend some time in Premiere Pro and actually make this a real video. So that's what I wanted to share. If you want to hang out with me every week with Hello Creator for free, you can join our weekly digital creator roundtables Wednesdays at noon Eastern time. I'm also a coach, so if you want some one-on-one support, you can do a free discovery call using the link in my description box. We do a mix of like the strategy and the actual creating of videos, so like organizing, getting B-roll, writing scripts, putting it together in Premiere Pro, but also this like emotional work of what's coming up as you start making these videos, and can we be with these feelings that are creating the procrastination. And then finally, Monday to Fridays, I host a daily accountability call to actually get some work done. The best part about the accountability calls is that I created them because I wanted them, and now I get to hold this space for other people who are like, yeah, I just need to get something done. And in the process, they pay me to work because it's via Patreon, and it's only $3 a month, so it's very affordable. All right, bye.